Build professional skills this semester with Adobe Creative Cloud and create standout work both in and out of the classroom. Save big on professional creativity tools. Students get 65% off Adobe Creative Cloud, including Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, Acrobat Pro, and 20+ creative apps. No matter what project you're working on, Adobe Creative Cloud apps can help you take it to the next level. Visit adobe.com/student to learn more.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
This is All I Need Is a Miracle by Mike and the Mechanics. I am Frank Morano here on the other side of midnight. An apropos introduction to a master mechanic and automotive expert. You want to know how much of a master mechanic he is? He's actually named Mike the Mechanic, but we wanted to test him, so Matt Blaze just handed him a pair of broken headphones, and wouldn't you know it, in the minute between the time that he walked into the studio to the time this segment has begun, Mike Porcelli was able to fix those headphones. Well done, Mike.
The bill will be in the mail.
Right.
But Frank, I'm so glad to hear earlier that I've had a positive impact on you. I heard that you've acquired tool skills.
Skills is probably a bit of a stretch. I've acquired tools. Let's start with that. I don't know about tool skills, definitely tools. But I appreciate that. No, I'm always, believe me, there are so many circumstances where I think to myself, gee, I wish Mike lived across the street and I could show him this, because I don't know why this is not working, but for whatever reason, it's not working. So.
You have my number. You know everything you need to know about tools.
But, I feel I don't want to make you drive 3 boroughs away. At 30 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. Now, Mike, for people that have not heard our previous conversations or may not know your background, you've worn a lot of hats over the years. One of the hats you wear, and I think you were wearing it when I saw you at the Columbus Day Parade, was your Army intelligence hat.
This
right?
is my favorite hat. It's my 82nd Airborne hat.
Mm-hmm. And you're an Army veteran, a master mechanic, got every certification that there is. You've been a teacher. You're a columnist, widely read, syndicated columnist in a lot of local papers all around the region. And more than anything, you're an advocate for trade education and the return of shop class. As long as I've known you, you've talked about this for a long time. Why is this such an issue that you've been hammering home for so long? Why is it important to you?
Because I was so lucky to grow up the way I did, to learn the skills I've been able to acquire, because I grew up in my family's shop. And I met so many other people who did not have the opportunity to learn trade skills. And I teach kids now who did not have the opportunity in middle school and high school to have shop class. And now they come to Bronx Community College, and they can have a great career. They can learn great skills in our school and other schools, but they could have started much earlier.
In terms of the benefits of shop class and I know you did a column on this, but the benefits of shop class for someone that doesn't ultimately become an electrician or a mechanic or some profession where you end up using those skills, is there a benefit to those students as well?
Absolutely. The number one thing you hear now in school theory is that they want to teach STEM. Every kid has to learn STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. The best place to learn STEM is in shop class, because you can see it, you can feel it. You look at any kid in kindergarten, they play with blocks, they build things, right? They build sandcastles, mm-hmm. They build erector sets. Kids like to build things. Not every kid, but my feeling is this: more than half the people in the world born with some sort of, call it tool aptitude, or skills that where they could become trade skills. You know, they have the aptitude. And my feeling is this: if the school does not tailor the education that these kids get, if they don't tailor that education to match those skills, those kids are not interested in the education. I had a real example of that over the weekend, where I met kids who were not trained. Their education did not match, their aptitude and interest.
You had a column back in August about how the labor shortage was driving a return of shop class. I know we hear a lot of people talking about a return of shop class and a greater emphasis on trade education. Sometimes it's celebrities like John Ratzenberger. Sometimes it's business owners and media personalities like Mike Rowe. Other times it's education officials like the school's chancellor, David Banks, in New York. Have we actually, though, seen this return to shop class? Has the pendulum actually started to swing in the direction that you've been, talking about?
It's coming back, but not fast enough. The problem with the city schools that I see is they think they've done enough, and they haven't. I survey our students that come in each year, and for the last couple of years, 1% to 5% of my students had automotive shop class in high school. Every one of them wanted to take it. Over 90% couldn't have it. So that tells you the school is not meeting the need.
They couldn't have it because the school didn't offer it?
There weren't enough seats. They don't have the resources. They don't have the resources. They don't have the teachers. We need to build more of everything: more school resources, more teachers, more trade education teachers.
If you're just tuning in, I'm Frank Morano. This is The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is Mike Porcelli. You can check out his column in a number of local publications. It's called The Other Side of Education. Love that title.
Thank you for the title, Frank.
He's also the most skilled mechanic I've ever encountered. You actually had an interesting column recently, just this week, about how CTE can save the lives of at-risk youth. It seems like a pretty bold claim. How so?
I met several people over the weekend. I was a speaker at an event in Harlem called SAVE, Stand Against Violence East Harlem. And they're a group of adults who grew up in the projects and became successful. They got out of the projects. They became successful through education. Some didn't become successful until after they got out of prison. One told me he became a chef in prison. Now, he wished he had the ability to have that kind of training while he was in high school. Had he had that training in high school, he probably never would have gone to prison, right? Mm-hmm. He loves being a chef. Now he loves mentoring young kids. He said to me, he wants to keep these kids from making the same mistakes he made. And a proper education, an education that's geared to a student's interests and abilities, an education that a student wants to come to school, right? Big problem with school is truancy, right? Kids don't like coming to school, so they don't show up. But if you gave them a program that they're interested in, if kids that are interested in cars could take automotive, kids that are interested in carpentry or plumbing could take those programs with the goal ultimately of becoming, very successful tradesmen. You can earn a great living. $100,000 to $200,000 a year for tradesmen is common.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Get ready for Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and Super Nintendo World. Now open at Universal Orlando Resort. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Ray Dalio, legendary investor and New York Times best-selling author, wants to pass along his understanding of how countries go broke, because he believes the U.S. budget and debt situation needs to be addressed. To give you that knowledge, he has put the draft of his book, How Countries Go Broke, The Big Cycle, online for free. It's available now at economicprinciples.org.
In golf, Precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
One of the terms that I don't know that I've heard before reading it in your column that you use is maker spaces. What are maker spaces?
Maker spaces are shops, places with tools where kids can make things. It's like kids make things in kindergarten, right? They have projects. They paste paper together, right? It's sort of that expanded, where adults or kids can go to a place that has tools. They might have 3D printers. They might have a lathe. They might have welders. I visited a few around the country. I visited one, a school, a K-12 school out in Colorado, that the whole school is a makerspace. And every kid in that school, whatever grade level, they're able to use any machine that they're capable of operating.
I want to ask you a question about perception, because right around the time my son was born, maybe we've talked about this, but in case we haven't, I'll bring it up again. Right around the time my son was born, someone asked me, hey, you like whenever you have a child, and I know you're a father, you always think about that child's future, but someone asked me, someone I know well, hey, how would you react if Carmine chose to become a plumber? And I said, I would love it. That would be great.
Because they'll make much more money than you do.
So, believe me, I think there's a lot of professions where that's the case. But and this person who is a great person, they said, "Wow, I'm so surprised to hear you say that. I mean, you're probably going to invest all this money in his education and all this time into making sure he learns all this stuff, and you'd be okay with him just becoming a plumber." Now, I was floored that this person said that, and I'm curious about your view of how we can change the perception of skilled trades as less valuable somehow than traditional academic paths. What role can public figures play, educators, and parents in shifting that perception?
I'm glad you brought that up, Frank, because I was hoping you would, because it's the connection between academic and trade education. They go together. I've written that I might have been the first to combine them 60 years ago, because I took a full academic and a full shop class program in high school. So I got 2 high school diplomas. A lot of people I know in the trades have college degrees. Back when I was told in high school, my parents were told if I took shop class in high school, I wouldn't go to college. Now, thinking back, I realized they were probably right, because nobody had before I did. So I might have been the first out of my high school to take auto shop and go to college. And then after I came home from the Army, I got an MBA. I'm probably the first mechanic to ever get an MBA 50 years ago. But now I know many others with MBAs and other graduate degrees. So I would like to ask you to help me out with a survey I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I would like you to ask your listeners to write in if they're a tradesman with a college degree, a master's degree. I even know mechanics with PhDs. So I've gotten the look all my life when people say, "Oh, you're just a mechanic."
Right.
That look. They look down like, "Oh, you're a mechanic." Well, especially in court, when I testify in court, and I've gotten that look from people when I'm being questioned, cross-examined. "Oh, you're a mechanic," like, I'm just a mechanic. Well, it turns out I'm better education than the lawyer who's questioning me.
Oh, no, I have no doubt that that's the case. Believe me, I've been around enough lawyers to not be surprised by that. That's not a bad suggestion. If you do fit the description that Mike just alluded to, shoot me an email and we'll keep track. You can email me, frank.morano@redappleaudionetworks.com. That's frank.morano@redappleaudionetworks.com.
And let me interrupt, please.
Please.
Anybody who has a college degree at whatever level, bachelor's, master's, PhD, or somebody who's working on a college degree, while working in the trades, please write in.
You, in your columns, have mentioned the financial benefits of skilled trades, which I don't think can be disputed at this point. with a lot of young women choosing those careers over expensive college degrees. How can we do a better job informing students and parents about the earning potential and the career satisfaction in these fields?
You're doing it right now.
Uh-huh.
That's why I write the column. That's why I take every opportunity to go on any media outlet to promote trade education and working in the trades. A lot of kids have trade aptitude. I recently discovered on YouTube a 12-year-old boy who's a master mechanic already.
Wow, my goodness!
This kid loved this kid. I was this kid 60 years ago.
So you, just in this conversation, but in every conversation, you repeatedly call for making shop class available to every student and to do it now. What would be the most effective and immediate steps to achieve that? What are the main obstacles, and how can we overcome whatever those obstacles are?
Well, you mentioned makerspaces earlier. I've written that some schools are building makerspaces into their curriculum, and that should start in grade school. It's already started in grade school. In kindergarten, kids make things in kindergarten. Well, those kids who like to make things, as they grow up, they don't have the opportunity anymore. They should have, at every grade level, there should be an opportunity for kids who like to work with their hands, build things, make things on a 3D printer, or build things, physically. They should have that opportunity. Every school, especially middle school, should have basic shop class, metal shop, wood shop, electrical shop, for kids who might want to explore that area as a career. In high school, there should be enough seats in trade education programs, automotive, electrical, plumbing, construction. There should be enough seats for every kid who wants it. When the kids make their selection for what high school they want to pick, if they pick a trade education program, they should not be denied that program, like my students have been. 95% of my students don't have the automotive program that they requested.
Yeah, in several of your columns, you compare the life lessons learned in shop class to those learned in kindergarten. What are some of the most important non-technical skills that students can gain from hands-on learning experience in shop class?
How to get along with others, because in a shop we have to work together, right? Nobody works alone in any trade. This building was not built by individuals. It was built by teams of carpenters and plumbers and iron workers.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. And you have to work together. It's the same in the military. It's just working in shop is like the military or any organization, any sports team. Right. You have to work together. You do that very well in shop class, but you also learn STEM. You learn math. I've been told by school administrators that these kids, meaning the shop kids, they can't read and they can't do math. I said, well, when they get to shop class, they can do shop math and they can read a technical manual.
Right. They
just don't read the things that you want them to read.
Yeah.
So give them things that they want to read.
Yeah, I mean, well put. You have highlighted the correlation between the decline of shop class and all sorts of societal problems, all sorts of economic problems. Wondering if you can elaborate on that a little bit, the connection between these factors, the decline of shop class and, basically the skilled labor shortage, the cost of higher education, and even things like crime rates. How are those things interrelated with one another?
And any student who has a proper education, one that they want to go to school to learn, they're going to be less likely to be out hanging out on the streets committing crimes, right? If they see a path to a successful career, they might want to be a talk show host, or they might want to be a mechanic or a plumber or a carpenter. If they see a path where they can be successful, they'll want to acquire those skills to get there, right? So if they have that desire, they might not even know they have the desire. The school has an obligation to help kids learn what their interests are. A lot of kids don't even know. I grew up knowing, I saw my father working as an infant, I could practically say. I've been working with tools since I'm 3 or 4 years old. I was in the shop at 5.
Let me ask you, again, a parental question. I'm not handy, although I feel like I've gotten better. But
hang around me, Frank.
My son loves to play with my tools, the wrenches, We have a rubber mallet that he just loves. I keep the hammer away from him, but he tries to grip the hammer. We got him some toy tools. Given your own experience, right? You had a father that was handy, and so did I, but for whatever reason, it skipped a generation with me. What can parents do to make sure that their children have a good grounding in trade education, especially if they're in part of an education system that doesn't offer shop class and things like that? What could I do for Carmine, and what could other parents or grandparents of children do to make sure they're, better prepared for any number of trade-related skills?
Be observant. Watch what your child is interested in. See what he likes to do. If he likes taking things apart, don't discourage him from taking your appliances apart.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that one. I don't know. That's one piece of advice I may disregard. Mike Porcelli, hey, if people want to get in touch with you or read more about what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm in all the BQE newspapers, the Queens Ledger, Glendale Register, Forest Hills Times, several Brooklyn papers. It's also online, several places. If you Google Porcelli Master Mechanic, you'll find me. You'll find the columns.
All right, outstanding. Mike Porcelli, you can read him wherever good columns are written. Thank you for the time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank.
We'll take your calls in a minute. 646-720-0635. 646-720-0635. Also, a lot of exciting stuff coming your way straight ahead.